Welcome to Listen to Your Skin by Moon and Skin, the podcast where science meets nature to celebrate the story of your skin. Your skin is a living canvas, ever evolving, deeply personal, and uniquely yours. Each week, we'll dive into the science of healthy skin, share empowering stories, and uncover transformative self-care rituals. We're here to help you embrace every phase of your journey with confidence and care.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Skin by Moon and Skin, and I'm your host, Dr. Jen Haley. This week, I have the pleasure of welcoming Jaselle Jamoua to the show. Hi, Jaselle.
Hi.
Giselle's a licensed esthetician and a professional makeup artist with over a decade of experience in the beauty industry. Beginning in her career as a makeup artist in 2013, she developed a passion for enhancing natural beauty and helping clients feel confident in their skin. And more recently, Jaselle expanded her expertise by becoming a licensed esthetician specializing in customized skincare treatments. With a commitment to continuous learning, Jaselle stays up to date on the latest techniques and innovations to provide her clients with the best possible care. Her goal is to create a relaxing, results-driven experience that empowers each individual to look and feel their best. And it shows. Thanks for being here, Jaselle.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So that's a unique combination. You know, I've talked before to makeup artists and I've talked to many estheticians, and I love that you've meshed the two of them together, in particular because with your work as an esthetician, we know this is a process of transforming somebody's skin. It takes time for someone to improve their skin texture, their tone, help with some brown spots, some other blemish issues. And in the meantime, you can help them with makeup application. And like on that note, can you dive a little bit deeper on the importance of skincare and how it relates to makeup application, something I know very little about?
Yes, of course. So I am a big believer in your makeup only looks as good as how you take care of your skin. A lot of times I will have a client in my chair and I'm so excited to do their glam. And the great thing about that is that I could help them figure out ways so that their next appointment, when they come in for that, they are either exfoliated a little bit better, or they can like dermaplane beforehand, or we can schedule them a consultation so we can do a skin analysis to see what they really need, so that in the future when they are coming in for their makeup appointments, they're not worried about either fine lines or wrinkles or blemishes, maybe a little bit of hyperpigmentation or their rosacea. So all of these really intertwine really tremendously when you're doing your makeup. So I think it's really important that clients understand that makeup is only going to sit on top of the skin, but what's happening underneath is actually more important.
Okay, that's great. So there's so many procedures you just mentioned, which I want to dive a little bit deeper into.
Mm-hmm.
As far as skin care itself, what are the do's and don'ts of what people should or shouldn't apply to make their makeup more effective?
Great question. I love when people ask me this because it's so important to prep your skin before you come in and get your makeup done. So I always like to say that if you are going to get a facial before you have a big event, that you should be getting your facial at least a week before, anywhere from 7 to 10 days before your event, just so your skin is a little bit more fresh. And if you do purge, which I don't know if I'm going to tell the audience here, purging is when you break out a little bit after a facial. It's really normal. It's just because your skin is more exposed and a little bit more sensitive. So you want time for your skin to heal before you come in for your makeup appointment. But the biggest thing that I always tell my clients is really just to make sure that your skin is exfoliated and moisturized and protected before you come into your appointment. So exfoliator, whether it's physical or chemical, and then moisturizing your skin as well as protecting it with a good SPF. That's not going to make your makeup pill.
Okay, that's great. That's really great. And that's consistent with the advice I've heard before from previous makeup artists.
Mm-hmm.
And I love consistency because, there's truth in it when you have people that are experienced with decades of experience like yourself saying the same thing again and again. I want to go back to purging because there's a lot of people that will use that word and I don't know if they quite understand what's going on. So the way that I look at it as a dermatologist, I always want to understand like what's the mechanism of action, what's going on beneath the surface. And when you look at like someone's skin who's in their 20s or 30s, it takes about 6 weeks to get from the bottom layer to the top layer of the skin, whereas someone like me in their 50s, it might take more like 8 to 12 weeks. Our stem cells get a little lazy and things don't turn over as quickly. And most people that have blemishes, they normally will take about 6 to 8 weeks to go from the bottom layer to the top layer. So what I feel is going on with this purging is that when you see an esthetician, esthetician that is medical, that's results driven, they're doing maybe more aggressive treatments that are helping those deep pimples that were 6 to 8 weeks old kind of surface and come to a head a little bit quicker. And that's what we call purge, with the hopes that the next cycle of skin is clear. Is that how you see it?
That's exactly how I see it. I do believe when people eat a little piece of chocolate and then they wake up the next morning and they're like, oh my God, I broke out because I ate chocolate. No, you had that brewing and cooking underneath your skin for some time. But maybe what happened when you had a little bit more sugar is that it helped not prolong, I guess, but it helped activate that blemish to come up from underneath the skin. So I totally agree with that statement.
Right. Yeah. So what you're doing in the office is you're helping all of that to surface more quickly. And it's important that people do the right things at home to make the next layer of skin clear. So to your point, it's not really a chocolate, everyone, if you're listening, it's the sugar.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
a dark chocolate or a cacao, not so much. But we now know that sugar and dairy are very related with acne forming. But I do want to go back to your point about different procedures and facials, and sometimes that can make it come to the surface. Are there different types of facials? Is there anything that people should look for depending on what their needs are of their skin? Because I think that word facial is thrown around a lot and it can mean very different things.
Yeah, I agree. I think that skincare is not a one size fits all by any means, and everybody's experience is going to differ from client to client. I think it really starts with coming in and doing a skin analysis to see what procedure or what facial, I guess, is going to fit your needs best.
What is a skin analysis?
A skin analysis is pretty much when you come in and you take a closer look at the client's skin under either like a mag lamp, which is like a magnifying glass that has a little lamp so you can see the skin a little bit more clearly, or just, I love using my hands. Obviously, sanitation is so important. So my hands are clean, or I am wearing gloves before I touch anybody's skin, but I do like to feel the skin to see if there's anything underneath. Because, for example, my skin, you won't really be able to see a lot on the surface, but when I touch my own skin, I could feel like congestion underneath the surface. And so that's going to help me identify, okay, is this a pimple or is it a blackhead? Is it congestion? Is it dry skin? Is it cystic acne? What's happening underneath the surface? So what I like to do in my skin analysis is really take my time, feel what's on the skin, as well as using a magnifying lamp to see if I can see anything that maybe my naked eye couldn't catch.
So you're able to see if someone has congestion, is prone to acne, if they're sensitive and more inflamed, and that will direct your therapy or your treatment protocol.
Absolutely. And I'm also really big into intake forms. I cannot stress this enough. Having a client fill out an intake form is so important because it really helps me identify or see little things that could, trigger a breakout. Sleep is really important when it comes to your skin. Water, hydration, external environmental causes. These things are so important. And with an intake form, it essentially helps me figure out exactly what the client is doing without having to have a 30-minute consultation. They fill it out, I look it over, and then I can kind of see, okay, maybe you're not drinking enough water, you're a little bit more dehydrated, and that can help me identify, is their skin dehydrated or is it dry? Is it lacking water or is it lacking oil? So these things really do help, and that is a part of the skin analysis as well.
Right? It's like you can be in the office and do the perfect procedure on them, and if they're not doing things at home that are supporting your procedure, it's almost wasted. So can we pivot a little bit into at-home skincare?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me what your thoughts are on at-home skincare.
Oh, it's so important. It's so important. I compare skincare, at home skincare, and seeing your esthetician to the diet and exercise 80-20 rule. It is so important. 20% of the results that you're going to see in your diet and exercise, that comes from your exercise. And 80% of it is from your dieting. It's this, I compare it the same way. 20% of the time, your results are going to be driven by your esthetician and what you're doing in the treatment room. 80% of it is how you maintain it and take care of it at home. I cannot stress this enough. You don't have to have a 13-step skincare routine, but you need to have something that works for you, because if you're not taking care of your skin at home, that 20% is not going to make much of a difference. And I would hate my clients to waste their time and their money on something that they could easily be doing at home.
I love that. I love that analogy. I've always thought of it as like brushing your teeth. So you can go to your esthetician, i.e., like get your teeth cleaned every 3 months or so. Although with the rate of how your skin turns over, it may need to be more frequently or less frequently than that. But you're still going to brush your teeth at home. So if you don't brush your teeth at home, then you're just putting the burden on the dental hygienist to clean your teeth. And then it'll look good for a week or so, just sort of like if somebody does a treatment with you or goes to their dermatologist, they'll look good for a short-lived period of time. But if they're not doing the basics at home, then they're not going to establish a long-term result. So what are some of the basic skincare that you recommend universally for people, or for those with, let's just say, what's one of the biggest issues that you see with people actually? Is it acne? Is it oil? Or is it hyperpigmentation?
I would say a lot of it is like aging.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is aging. And
in what way?
Aging, fine lines, wrinkles, dehydrated skin, dry skin, maybe. I see a lot of that in my treatment room. I love retinol. I do. I love vitamin A. I think it's so useful. I mean, I know that a lot of people are really into tretinoin right now, and they're like heavily, like everybody's on this like tretinoin kick, and I love that, and I think it's great. But do I think it needs to be, maybe that strong? No, I think for people who are just starting off on their skincare journey that do want to target some anti-aging, I don't want to say issues, but like concerns that they may have. I definitely recommend like having a really good nighttime routine. And like I said, it's not a one size fits all. And it's definitely doesn't have to be like a 15-step routine. But if you have really good basics, a good retinol and a good moisturizer for nighttime, you don't want to be like dripping in your skincare. This whole glazed donut trend that I'm seeing for people's skin, I don't know that it really is going to give you the results you need, because I don't see it really going into the skin. The molecules are not small enough to penetrate past the first layer of the skin. So does it really work? I don't know, That's just how I see it.
I agree. I think these are great questions, because we know our skin is basically separating us from the outside world. So it's meant not to allow things to penetrate. And then the other thing we don't know about skincare is we might know that a retinol works well. We might know that a vitamin C can work as an antioxidant to lighten. We don't necessarily know how things work together.
Yeah.
So there's science behind individual molecules. There's not a ton of science showing that 12 layers don't actually counter each other and make things ineffective. So I always think of, there's this concept called hormesis. It's like a little bit of injury causes the body to become stronger. So if you work out at the gym, you get stronger muscles. If you do microneedling, you get more collagen. If you are harsh with anything, you get a scar. You break your back, so a little bit of injury can make it stronger. Too much can cause that. And I always wonder, like, whether it's in the longevity world or the skincare world, some people do almost too many things and counter the benefits of just doing a little bit. And then I also think that skincare should be accessible for everyone, despite your background or your socioeconomic status. So I think it's really important for everyone to realize they're going to get some benefit, even if they just use a vitamin C or a retinol. And for those of you like listening about retinol, it's not sexy. It's not in TikTok all the time because it's been around since the 1970s, and it's the most scientifically proven molecule to help reverse sun damage, to help stimulate collagen, even out skin tone. It just is not like the biggest, newest thing, but it's the most scientifically backed. So how do you have people initiate a retinol? Like break down the details of how you can get someone to tolerate it without experiencing a lot of dryness or redness that we sometimes will see.
For sure. I love that question because it is so important to not just start slapping on retinol every night. Like you said, perfect example, microneedling, right? We're damaging the skin just a little bit, enough to help the skin get stronger and to stimulate collagen, which then in turn helps improve the elasticity in the skin, helps you look more youthful and fresh, and it's great. But with retinol, what's important to know about it is too much too soon is not good. So I always like to tell my clients, if they are interested in starting a retinol, to start with like a really gentle retinol. I have a couple that I recommend, but nothing that I'm really like 100% in love with just yet myself. I'm still on the hunt myself. But I tell my clients to start with once a week. Really, really slow. I would rather have them start as slow as possible and to be as safe as possible with their skin. So once a week, and then the week after I recommend twice a week, and then I bump it up to every other day. And then eventually at some point they can, if they want to, start wearing it every night. And that's just kind of preference if your skin can handle it.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very similar in my recommendations. So I recommend everything to the face, neck, and chest
Yeah.
as one unit. I think a lot of times people forget the neck and the chest, but with retinol, if it's caught in the creases, like around the nose or around the mouth or in the fold of the neck when you sleep at night, it can get really irritating and cause loosening of the corneocytes on the top layer a little too quickly and become irritating. We used to think that using retinol with a moisturizer made it less effective. And now we find that that is not true, and it makes it more well tolerated. And I can have people either use a sandwich technique where they use a moisturizer first and then the retinol and then moisturizer again if they're really prone to irritation, or just use the moisturizer afterwards. And to your point, it's about going slow and starting low. So start low, go slow. We're stimulating collagen, which takes 3 to 6 months to form. And we're in this for the long game. Like we are in this for the long game, right?
Yeah. And consistency is key. Absolutely. When it comes to retinol, you have to be consistent with it to see the results of it. I have been doing Botox since I was 23 or 24, and Botox is great. You know, we love Botox, but you can't just do it you can't just do Botox by itself. You know, you have to have a little cocktail of things, you know? That's what I like to call it, a cocktail.
I call it building a house, right?
Yeah.
Like my hammer alone cannot build the whole house.
No.
So like while Botox works on dynamic muscle movement, we're not going to use it on areas of the face where we need to move the muscles, right? Maybe the frown lines, like who really wants a frown face, right? We're okay without that. But we do want micro expressions. So, you know, I'm actually happy to see you and I can raise my brows. But like for hyperpigmentation or for, you know, uneven skin tone or texture or reversing sun damage, retinol works so well. It's really undeniable. There's so many other things out there that try to compete and they've never taken the retinol spot. So we'll see. There's some science with liposomal technology that's kind of exciting because the liposomal technology can get through the bilipid membrane without causing so much irritation to the epidermis. We also need to see that the results are there as well. So there's a lot of science that's starting to work in our favor, which is great.
And it's really exciting too, right? Technology keeps advancing and we're so excited to see the future of skincare because it just, I don't know. I think it keeps getting better and better in my opinion. I think sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a conference I'm going to have you at. I'm going to tell you about it offline that I think you should attend. You'll love it, about the science of skincare.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's go back to facials, and esthetician. So people are using skincare at home. How often should they be seeing their esthetician?
Listen, I know that some people may agree and disagree with me, but because I do believe it's not a one size fits all, generally, I would love to see my clients every 4 to 6 weeks. However, if you are keeping up with your skincare at home and you're doing great, and there aren't many skin concerns that you have for you to be motivated to come into the salon, I recommend every 8 to 12 weeks, depending on the client, but generally 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, so maybe if they have a concern that they're trying to be aggressively treating and improving, it would be more of a 4 to 6 week thing. Is there any benefit to coming sooner than every 4 weeks, or you really need to let things sort of settle in and simmer and take effect? Because we live in a very impatient society. So is there too much?
There is too much. I don't recommend coming in sooner than 4 weeks. You can technically come in every 2 weeks, but at that point, it's like, are you, again, it's like you're relying on your hygienist essentially to clean your teeth for you. Like, why?
Right.
Why would you want to, I am for the people, right? Like, it's a business and I understand that completely. And this is my living, but I also don't want to be taking advantage of my clients. I feel like I really strive to be honest with my clients, and I wouldn't want my client coming in every 2 weeks just for them to have the same results as if they were to come in every 4 weeks. I would send you home with products and I would tell you, hey, keep up with this at home. You're doing amazing. As much as I love you and I'd love to see you, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, so that's great. So if you're listening and there's something that you want to aim to improve, whether it's acne, pigmentation, some blemishes, some uneven skin tone, you just want to boost every 4 to 6 weeks. If you feel like you're on cruise control, more towards the every 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, you're on a desert island. You don't have an esthetician. You get to bring one product. What would that product be?
So standard and generic, but
I know what you're going to say. Well, maybe I don't.
SPF. If you have a good SPF, like you're solid. Sun damage is so horrible. I've seen what it does to people's skin. It ages you, it dehydrates you. It takes a lot of, sun damage can even affect your the oils in your skin. SPF all the way.
Right. It's so interesting because people will often get sun because they think it helps with acne, but it actually breaks down the elastic tissue and it makes the pores actually look bigger over time. So maybe some short-term gain, but really long-term, like horrible pain. So
oh yeah,
I know it's such a not sexy answer, but it's really the truth because you see it in San Diego. I see it in Arizona, and I've lived in Hawaii. I've even lived in like the Rocky Mountains, and the sun damage causes more problems with your skin than anything else. So before you spend money on a high-tech, DNA repair enzyme or even a retinol, you have to avoid the sun because it breaks down collagen and causes all the things we don't want.
absolutely. I am like the biggest believer in SPF is like not a miracle product. I don't think any one product is a miracle product, but I do think SPF is close. Is close.
I know, at least for the high real estate areas.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of getting broad surface areas of the body exposed a few times a week, depending on where you live and your skin type. Although I do not believe in having my face, my neck, and my chest, especially at the age of 53, exposed to the sun.
Yeah.
Because I do not want the wrinkles and the cancer and all the other things that
absolutely. Even your hands.
we get.
Oh, SPF on my hands every morning. Like whatever is left on my face, I rub it into my hands. And you can even get sun exposure. You can even get sun exposure from your windshield when you're driving. Your hand is on the steering wheel and you're driving, that you get sun exposure from that too. And I've heard, which I find myself, I've noticed as well, maybe I'm a little bit more hyper aware, but now I'm noticing that how you can tell somebody's age is like really in the folds of their necks and in their hands, because like we were talking about with Botox, it only relaxes the muscles, but like what about the folds? What about the hands? So protecting the hands, the neck, the chest, super important.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about the sun damage. So people will say, I don't get sun there, when I see them for an examination. I don't get sun there. It's just because of my age. I have them look at the upper inner part of their arm. And if those of you can see here, that's the natural age of our skin. Doesn't it look like a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Everything else is from the sun. So not just sunscreen, but like all the skincare products I use on my face, I take the rest on my palm and put it on the back of my hands because I am conscious about how quickly my hands age. Okay, so lots of products. We talked about some of the key products. As far as cleansing, why do people need to cleanse, and what's up with double cleansing? Do people need to double cleanse? What is double cleansing? What are the ways to do it?
Okay, great question. I love that because I'm a double cleanser girly. I double cleanse morning and night. People think it's a little too much. It can be if you're using really stripping products, or if you're using like a cleanser with salicylic acid, I recommend to use 2 different kinds of cleansers. Again, it's not for everybody, but this is what works for me. Double cleansing. Here's like the thing that people really get confused by because they think, I'm washing my face once. Like, of course, all of the dirt and the oil, if I'm doing a good scrub, it's going to come out, right? But it only breaks down the dirt and the oil, your first cleanse. But when you're doing your second cleanse, that's when the product is really, getting in there and helping you with whatever skin concern you have. So for people who are acne prone, for example, obviously if you're like a level 2 or 3 acne prone type of person, I recommend to do an oil cleanser first. That's like really gentle, so you're not causing a lot of friction on the skin. And when you emulsify it into your hands, you'll really see the oil and the dirt break down as you're emulsifying. And when you go in with your second cleanser, which I'll always recommend something that has salicylic acid in it, like top tier for acne prone clients, that is really going to help target your skin concern, which is acne. So for people who use mandelic acid or lactic acid, those are targeted for different skin concerns. But I always recommend to go in with an oil cleanser first because it's gentle and it can break down. If you're somebody who wears makeup every day, personally, I don't, but I still like to do it because I just feel like when I go walking every day, I walk for anywhere from like 6 to 8 miles a day. So I'm getting a lot of all of the pollution and the dirt just from walking in the streets. It's important that I break that down first and then I go in with my cleanser that is going to target my skin concern, which for me personally, I love to use a cleanser that's like really hydrating.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so the first step is really to remove the environmental particles and the toxins, makeup, SPF. And then the second one is to be skin directed.
Mm-hmm.
So I like salicylic acid a lot too for oily skin because it's drawn to oil. It's anti-inflammatory. It comes from the willow tree. It's same as aspirin. And it's tolerated by a lot of skin types, whereas lactic acid can burn if you're rosacea prone.
Exactly.
So I mean, anyone listening, if we ever recommend something and it doesn't feel good on your skin, it's not meant for you, right? And that's why we want people to ultimately listen to their own skin because your skin will give you the answers, and intuitively you know what you need. And having the guidance of a dermatologist or an esthetician and somebody who understands skin can help direct you. Yet you always know what your own skin needs. So listen to it.
100%. That's why I stress this so much. Skin is not a one size fits all. What works for you is not going to work for me. What works for Jack over there is not going to work for Sally over here. It's not the same. So absolutely. But clients do, come in sometimes and they do ask me questions that are really meant to be asked like to a dermatologist. And so I always have to really take a step back and tell the client, like, yes, this is great. These are great questions. As much as I want to answer that for you, I think it's best that you do see a dermatologist because some skin concerns are a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Some skin concerns are a little bit more that need a little bit more medical attention. really you need to go and see a dermatologist.
They may be a clue something else is going on. Yeah, and I look, going back to my dentist analogy, right? You see the dentist once a year, your dermatologist, then you see your dental hygienist for your teeth cleaning. Like I go 4 times a year.
Yeah,
So you see your
smart.
esthetician, and then you still do your skincare at home so that you become attuned to what your skin needs. The more you give it attention, the more you will understand and have that relationship with your skin. I want to go back to the double cleanse. Like, where does micellar water fall into this? What are your thoughts on micellar water?
I can't speak too much about micellar water because I don't use it. I don't necessarily like it. I don't know. I don't see that it really does much for clients. It's a good makeup remover, but I don't believe it should be a product that's used to cleanse the skin at all. If anything, I think micellar water can almost, if it's used alone, can be damaging to the skin.
How?
I I think when I think of micellar water, I think of it having that, I don't know, that like residue-y feeling like after you use it.
Mhm.
So I don't know much about it, but there's just something in the micellar water that I feel like if you use it alone, it's like, I don't know, I feel like I just spread dirt around my face. I don't really feel like I cleaned it, you know?
I love that you're so intuitive that way. So, my understanding of the history of micellar water is it was created in Paris when the water supply was really dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So, they took soap particles and they surrounded it by like a water molecule.
Okay.
And it was when people had no access to running water, right? So, to your point of feeling that something's still on your skin, it is. It's a soap particle that's mixed in the water. I do use it from my makeup, but like as we talked before we started here, I'm a simple person. Like I normally don't look this glammed up. So I have like tinted sunscreen, and then I just use the micellar water for my makeup, and then I use a cleanser. And I use something called AO2 Clear afterwards, which is hyperoxygenated water. And I can see whether my cleanser has done an effective job or not because I'll see residue on the pad from that. So there's just what we're saying here is that we're both experts in the field. We have like almost 40 years combined experience together, and we do things differently. So there's many things out there that are there for everyone. I've played with oil-based cleansers, and I don't dislike them. I'm just a little lazy. Like I'm a little lazier than you. I'm going to be honest as far as doing so many steps. I really am. I mean, I'll cleanse my face once, then I'll do the oxygen, then I go get changed. Then I'll put my retinol on, then I'll brush my teeth, and then I'll put my moisturizer on. And I want the same moisturizer for my face, my eyes, and my neck.
Yeah.
I don't want like 5 different things. So I'm a
Right.
little lazier than you. But I'm just thinking like, I forgot what I was thinking. I was just wondering, like, as far as the oil-based cleansers, like, is there anyone whose skin wouldn't tolerate that? Because I think a lot of people that are acne prone are afraid of using oil, and then they end up over drying their skin out. So I find that people who have acne are okay with an oil-based cleanser as long as it's not coconut oil.
Right. It has
And
to be
which they're-
gentle for sure.
Which they're usually not made of coconut oil. So like, are there particular things that someone with acne prone skin or anyone who shouldn't use an oil-based cleanser?
In my experience, I haven't met anybody or I haven't seen or heard of anybody that, can't necessarily use an oil-based cleanser. I think it's just about finding the right product for you and the right oil cleanser for you. So a lot of people really like those balms because they're, thick at first and then you get to emulsify and it's fun to use,
Totally.
And then there are people that just like to go in with the straight pump oil cleanser, and that's a little bit easier to use as well. Not as messy as a balm, I would say, but in terms of if there's a skin type that it doesn't really work well with, I don't think so. I think it's pretty gentle enough for everybody to use.
And it's not penetrating. It's just being
No,
used
it's
to
just-
remove.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think if you're obviously taking like a rough towel and wiping it off, obviously it's going to do a little bit of damage because you're being so rough with the product as well as the tool that you're using to remove it. But I don't think it's harsh enough to really cause too much damage.
Okay. Let's talk about meshing the worlds between an esthetician and a makeup artist? Because I don't often meet people that do both. So that's very powerful, I believe. So what's your take with having the expertise in both those areas?
Well, like I said, your makeup is only going to look as good as, how you take care of it underneath. But skincare was something that I had loved and found so fascinating since I graduated high school. I actually wanted to go to esthetician school right after I graduated high school. But life happens and you kind of get off the path a little bit, but I always knew that I wanted to be a makeup artist as well. Teachers would ask, in school as the icebreaker, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everybody knew that I was the girl that wanted to be a makeup artist because I just love glam so much. But I do think it's so important to take care of your skin so that your glam looks good. So really over the years, since I started doing makeup in 2013, I really was so fascinated also by what products have what ingredients in them for makeup application. And I think that just made my passion for skincare even more intense because I would look at what foundations can go with what primers and moisturizers. Is it an oil-based moisturizer? Then I would have to use like an oil-based foundation. So that's really how they mesh as well. And I think it's important for people when they're looking at their makeup and they're like, these products look so amazing on this person. Why don't they look good on me? Well, you have to also consider the ingredients that are in your skincare products as well as your makeup products and see if they work well together.
And also what works well for you, because like, for instance, your hair is different from mine. So I couldn't wear the same hairstyle as you because it wouldn't work on me. Just like the shape of your face is different from mine. So what looks good on you wouldn't look good on me. And
Right.
I think this is a really big thing that I want people to hear is like, let's accent your best asset rather than trying to be what someone else's best asset is, because I'll never be a great Jaselle. Let's just be honest here. You'll never be a great Jen. Like I'm good at being me, you're good at being you, and let's just expand who we are in that category.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of trends out now. And I think that one of the things that bothers me the most after being in this industry so long is the fact that there's a lot of externalizing and reaching outward for answers rather than coming into yourself and learning what the answers are. And it takes practice to do that with the help and guidance of an expert. Eventually, my goal is for everyone to be attuned and in tune and have the intuition of what works well for them. But there's always the skincare trends out there. And, we do get caught up with them. So like, what are you seeing now as far as skincare trends? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly, in your opinion?
Okay. I'm going to start with the bad. And I don't want anybody coming for me.
As long as we end with the good.
Yeah, we're going to end with the good. But I'm looking directly at the camera and saying this. Nobody better come for me for saying this. A trend. I'm sorry. I don't think any tool is as powerful as your hands. So for me, I don't think gua sha. Oh, I'm so sorry. People are going to come for me for saying this. But like, gua sha is a great tool, but like, why can't you use your hands? Your hands are the most powerful tool that you have when it comes to your skincare. The sensation even of hand on face contact just feels so much better than any tool you can ever use. So that's I don't want to say bad, but like, it's just not something that I would ever really be into. And I know people are obsessed with gua sha right now. Like, they have been for years, but I don't know, maybe it's just coming up on my For You page so much these days, but like I'm seeing it everywhere and I'm like, dude, you use your hands. Like, give yourself a lymphatic massage. It's the best thing you can do for your face. You want to structure jawline, you want to get out all the inflammation. Lymphatic massage, use your hands. It's the same thing as a gua sha, and you don't need to pay for a tool to be able to do it yourself.
I agree. I feel like there's a lot of complication. We don't need to overcomplicate things. I mean, I do think gua sha has a purpose if you want to go there. My time is better utilized somewhere else. And I agree, the feedback from your fingers and your hands, not picking,
Right, right,
but like
right.
massaging. And that's part of the routine of the morning and the night. It's not even as much the skincare products we're applying. It's about taking that time and that ritual to care for yourself, especially as women. We don't do that enough. We need to take time that is uninterrupted to take care of ourselves, massage our face. Around the eyes, I see people are afraid to like even put cream on because they're afraid to stimulate and touch around their eyes that they're going to tear elastic tissue. That's absurd.
It
Because,
is.
yeah, we need to remove the move the lymphatics and stimulate the collagen a little bit. And by doing it with your hands instead of a tool, you're not going to be too aggressive. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that if you're gentle, you're not like you're not causing that much friction in your skin that you're going to be pulling it so much that you're ruining whatever elasticity you have in your skin. If you're worried about like aging and your skin sagging or becoming loose, it's not like that at all. Obviously, you're using oils and moisturizers to help massage your skin. You're not going to go in with dry hands and a dry face. Like that's not even enjoyable. It hurts actually if you think about it. But that's my thing. And another thing that I think really has kind of gone a little crazy in terms of like, I don't know. I think it's really wild in this day and age that we're paying upwards of $60,000 for equipment and devices as estheticians when some of the best results you can get are from like a standard custom facial.
Do you do chemical peels?
I do chemical peels.
You know, it's interesting because I trained in San Diego where you are. I trained with a lot of chemical peels at the beginning of the laser time. And we can get very similar results with a good deep chemical peel
I agree.
than we can with a very expensive laser. And it's about 1/20th of the price. So, I mean, there's also risks of scarring and things like that. But like you can do a series of chemical peels and get some really good results without paying the price tag of a laser. I do like lasers for certain things like blood vessels because of the targeted approach. But for overall like rejuvenation and treating fine lines and wrinkles and getting the top layer of skin off to stimulate the stem cells below, like chemical peels and facials, like you can get a lot of results from that.
I love chemical peels. I think they are so effective. And I think if they're done right, you can get amazing results out of them. Obviously, you're not going to go in and do a chemical peel on somebody who's never had one. You know, you're going to start them off with something a little bit more gentle, like an enzyme, and then, you know, work your way up to a chemical peel. But I see this craze within the past 7 to 8 years, I would say, where everybody's going cuckoo bananas over these really expensive devices. And I don't know if it's just because people like to flex, I would say, that they're getting these like $1,000 facials or $500 facials that you could get the same result with, you know, maybe a series of treatments, 2-3 chemical peels instead of like $1,000. I don't know. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I always wonder. I have these moments of perception where, like, number one, what if we didn't know when we were born? How would we show up? And two is, what if we couldn't tell anyone what we did? We just had to show up the way we are.
Yeah.
You know, like we can't say, oh, I got my hair done. Oh, I got the laser. I got the whatever. Just show up as you are, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's something to that with the ego. And just if you're listening, just know that you can get really good results on any budget.
Yeah.
You just may have to go a little slower over time, but that's how I like to do things aesthetically is I want you to slowly look better, very little over time. So someone might say, oh, did you get a haircut? Did you want on vacation? They can't figure out what you had done. But then in 3 to 5 years, you look remarkably better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just not overnight. And it's a mindset switch of like, let's do it slowly and deliberately and wisely.
Yeah.
Just like going to the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Or like getting your hair done. You're not going to have like box dye hair that's like jet black and then sit in a hairstylist chair for 8 hours and expect to have platinum Elsa looking hair. That's not how it works. It's,
Right.
you know, there's no amount of, I don't know. It's just, I don't think that that's necessarily the best way to do things. If you're somebody who wants like a one and done type of situation, like there's no such thing as a one and done anymore. Everything is a series of treatments now. So, I think for everybody who's listening, like just know you don't have to have the craziest most expensive device driven facial to have results. Like there are things that you could do through a regular custom facial or a European facial, and things that you can do at home to really help improve your skin. And it is important to go and see a dermatologist too, because they have knowledge that estheticians don't. That's why you're a doctor and I'm an esthetician. We both have knowledge. We're both passionate about the same things, but there are certain things that your dermatologist can educate you on that maybe an esthetician wouldn't know. So it's about weighing your options as well.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's some pigmentary conditions that are not sunspots. They're a hint that something else is going on deeper in the skin. So from a medical perspective, definitely, although I would argue that dermatologists don't have an hour to spend with someone that you do during a facial where you have hands-on and you can really teach them how to take care of their skin.
Sure.
And going back to your point about like the compound effect is we are working. It's sort of like if, you said you walk 6 to 8 miles a day. What if you decided not to walk for a few months and then you did an ultra marathon? Like we're not going to do that with your skin either. So it's a compound effect. It's a little bit of stuff every day, working with the physiology of our skin to help exfoliate it without causing a deep burn.
Yeah.
We want to do mild exfoliation, mild stimulation of the collagen, and give it 6 to 8 weeks to stimulate collagen, and then go back and do another cycle. And it's a slow process where we walk on the journey together. So I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And it's a group approach. It's not one person is good and one person is bad. We need all of the above.
Yeah.
My answer is all of the above.
Yeah, same. I am a firm believer in like it takes a village, and as much help as you can get, take it. Why not? You have the resources and the tools available. Use them.
And then tune in with what works for you. Okay, let's go to the good trends. Let's do the good trends.
Okay. What are some of the good things that we love? I love dermaplaning. I do. I think it's a great form of exfoliation. I love that it helps remove like the little baby hairs as well, so you get a cleaner and better looking complexion. When I have a client that sits in my chair and their face is freshly dermaplaned, chef's kiss. I could literally kiss you and hug you. Like you are my best friend, because your makeup literally looks like it's a filter. It's so smooth and beautiful. So I love dermaplaning.
Can you explain what dermaplaning is?
Yes. So dermaplaning is an exfoliation process where pretty much you take a safe razor done by a professional. We're not using these little shaving tools that we get from Forever 21. I've literally seen them there. And you essentially take a blade to the skin to help remove the dead skin cells off of the skin. So a lot of people, like you'll see in those videos, like TikToks and Reels, where people are dermaplaning and they're using a really cheap razor. They're not really exfoliating. They might be exfoliating, but they're not exfoliating as well as they could if they were having a professional do it with like a surgical blade that, really helps get everything off in one pass. Because what you want to do is you want to get it really close to the skin. And I feel like with those like cheaper razors, you're essentially just moving the hair. You're not really getting much of the dead skin cells. So it's pretty much a form
There's a drag.
Yeah, it's pretty much a form of, it's pretty much a form of shaving your face. But I don't even want to say that because that's not even the right way to explain it. It's literally a form of exfoliation that helps get rid of all of the excess dead skin cells as well as whatever vellus baby hairs you have.
Yeah. I mean, to your point about the cheap ones or the man at home kind of kit, it's just dragging the skin, which is causing irritation and inflammation. So all the more reason, just because someone offers the procedure doesn't mean that they're good at the procedure. And this is something that is a big misunderstanding out there, because all dermaplaning is not created equal. All chemical peels are not created equal. all Botox is not created equal.
Yes.
So vet out people just like you would vet someone to, build your house. Like make sure that
They know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's so important. Like I love offering it as a service to my clients. And I think it is, like I said, when you do your makeup afterwards, it is so flawless and smooth and beautiful. Literally, your skin looks like a filter. It's amazing. But you really, really have to be careful. You can nick the skin so easily. The blades are really, really
Mhm.
sharp, especially if you get good quality blades. And you want to get good quality blades because you don't want to give somebody a half effort procedure. You want to do everything the right way and to the best of your ability. So these blades are sharp. You can nick somebody. If you go for more than one pass, you're over exfoliating the skin. It can cause like sensitivity and redness. And sometimes, products don't sit well on top of it after you do too much exfoliating. So got to do it the right way.
Right.
You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, and the blades are never reused, everyone.
Yes.
They're never reused.
Ever.
They're
Oh my God.
tossed. They're in the
Yes.
medical
Yeah.
container. Yeah.
If you have a really good blade, you could use one blade for the whole face.
Mhm.
But when I first started out, I was like, oh, a blade is a blade, right? No, it is not. I would have to use like 3 to 4 blades on my face when I would dermaplane myself, which I don't recommend to anybody who's listening. Do not dermaplane at home. Have a professional do it for you. That is so important. But when I would do it for myself and I'm holding my skin really taut, to make sure I don't nick myself and I'm doing it the right way, I would be like, why is this blade so dull? And I would have to change like 3 to 4 blades. And so if you can get a really good quality one blade for the whole face, that's important too.
Right. Yeah. That's so interesting that you talked about how dermablading will make makeup appear better. I never thought about that. I always think it's great for like if you're going to do a chemical peel, it'll be more effective, or for skincare. So when we remove that insulative top layer of skin, then you're without irritation, then the skincare that you apply will be more effective because it's you remove the insulative layer, so the skincare will penetrate better. But I love your take on the fact that like your makeup will sit better on the skin. That's really beautiful. So if someone has a big event, micro dermaplaning is something that they should do before the event.
Absolutely.
If they go to someone who's not going to cause irritation.
Yeah. I mean, go by a professional, of course. Go by somebody that you trust, that you know is going to do well. But it's just, like I said, it's your skin is so smooth, there's no hair to cause friction between the foundation and the skin. It lays more flat. It just like you said, when you do your skincare at home, like after you dermaplane, like the products penetrate better into the skin, and the makeup will as well. Your primer sits a lot better. Your moisturizer sits a lot better. So you don't have that risk of pilling. And pilling is, when you get those little balls from like the friction of rubbing in your skincare. And that happens in makeup too. If the products are not really penetrating into the skin well enough and you're applying foundation, and it happens really often, people are like, oh, why is it so patchy? Why is it flaky? A lot of it can be because you have excess dead skin cells that need to be exfoliated in order for the makeup to sit and actually feel like it's in your skin and not just sitting on top of it. Have you ever gotten your makeup done, or have you ever done your makeup and you feel like, gee, like, why is my makeup sitting on top of my skin, but it's not one with my skin? A lot of the times it could be because you need a good exfoliant.
That's a great point. Okay, I want to jump on your point about pilling. So what I have found causes pilling, and I'm not an esthetician, so what I notice is that when people apply too many products or they don't wait for the products to dry between steps.
Yeah.
So I want them to completely let one layer get soaked in and absorbed in the skin before they put the next product on. That's when I don't see pilling. And also sometimes it's the products themselves, like oil-based versus silicone, that kind of thing. So what do you find causes pilling?
So I agree with that completely because in the morning, sometimes when I rush, that happens to me too. But for because I do have clients that, they'll be sitting in my chair and we'll just be having normal conversations while I'm doing their makeup about this topic. And they'll tell me I'm doing all of the right things. I'm using all the right products and I am waiting in between each step and letting it dry down completely. And I'm even doing the patting and rolling motion instead of rubbing. And I'm like, have you thought maybe it could be because, you're not exfoliating? Maybe try using like a physical exfoliant, something that has like jojoba beads or almond shavings in it to help really get some of those dead skin cells off, or dermaplaning, because that really will take off all of those dead skin cells. And then there's really nothing to ball up to.
You have me thinking a lot. It makes such sense because I see different complaints than you, right? Because of just our unique roles. And I'll often have people complain about their skin being dry, especially in Arizona, right? So I tell them it's dry because it needs to be exfoliated because nothing's penetrating that insulative border. That insulative border. So I'm thinking the same thing with the pilling is like none of the skincare is getting absorbed because there's so many dead packed skin cell layers over it. So a lot of times when we think we don't need to exfoliate, that's exactly when we do. But we don't need to do it if we're getting red and irritated.
Right.
Okay, that's great. Okay, any other trends that you're excited about?
Oh, not that I can think of off the top of my head, but I will say I stopped. Sorry, don't come for me, guys. I stopped.
They will.
Yeah,
They'll all
they
come
will.
for you.
No matter what. Yeah, everybody's gonna come for me, no matter what. I kind of stopped using eye cream, not because I don't believe in it, but anything with a really high glycerin content works just as well, in my opinion. I don't know. I stopped using eye cream. I would say about 6 months ago. And I just use a moisturizer with a high glycerin content. And I swear it works the same.
So you're saying that you use product around your eyes, you just don't use a dedicated eye cream.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I use a face cream that works for my eyes and my neck because I just don't really feel that we need to treat those areas differently. I don't want them aging differently, so I treat them very similarly. Now, we're not putting it in our eyes.
Of course. And you're very careful with how close you get because, the skin is a lot more.
It's thinner.
It's thinner. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a lot thinner, so we have to be gentle. Like I said, even when you're massaging your eyes, we're not just going in dry skin, dry hands. But I do really think like I see a lot of amazing brands that I personally love that come out with eye creams, and I do recommend them sometimes to my clients if I like that or if I've used it in the past. But for me personally, I don't think I need a dedicated specific product just for my eyes. I can use products that'll substitute it as well. So then again, I'm not having to do like a 12-step routine, and I can like cut it down a little, because it's expensive in this day and age. Like skincare products are crazy expensive now. And I don't feel like it's as accessible to people as it was back in the day. I mean, there was always, your tiers of skincare. You're more affordable, and then you have a little bit more of that middle ground, and then you have like your really luxury brands. And for me really luxury brands, right? But they do kind of the same thing. So I don't know. I don't think I need one dedicated product for that area.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think minimalism and simplicity and having like one thing work in many areas is going to be key for 2025. The only thing around the eyes is you want to make sure something's tested around the eyes. So you don't want to just take any moisturizer. You want to make sure it's safe around the eyes, which a lot of moisturizers actually are, So I think brands have had to have neck creams, eye creams, hand creams, but I think many good creams can be used in all of those areas.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Jaselle.
Yeah,
so, okay, before we close out here, is there anything I didn't cover that you feel is super pressing? I definitely want to have you on again, but
oh my God,
yeah.
Thank you. No, I think we covered a lot of stuff. I think we did a great job. I really wanted to talk about the gua sha thing, and we did. So
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think the other thing that I like about lymphatics, because I'm super into the interstitium and the lymphatics, and just going back to gross anatomy in medical school, like the tissues were stuck on each other. And then when I did real surgery in real life, like our bodies glide so well. So if we have an area that's like just talk about bags under the eyes, for instance. If there's an area that's kind of puffy, like doing the lymphatic massage, which I'd love
Mhm.
for you to demonstrate in a video for the audience one day, because even I don't think I know how to do it right. But like what I'll do is just make sure I have tons of water, because dilution is a solution to pollution. And
Mhm.
I'll do jumping jacks or a rebounder or something where there's like impact a little bit to kind of get the lymphatics flowing in the body. So there's
Yeah.
things we could do overall, or walking and,
Yeah.
pounding the pavement, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is something that I cannot stress enough. Like, walking has literally changed my life. And I see like the inflammation in my body has gone down so much just from walking. And people are like, oh, it's not high impact. You're not really burning that many. Yes, you are. You're burning calories. You're getting outside. You're getting vitamin D. You're getting sun exposure. Too much sun exposure isn't good, but you get the right amount. It's great for you. It helps so much with your mental health as well. And even, I'm not joking, when I do my own lymphatic massages at home, after I started walking, I noticed a huge difference in how much my face can depuff just because I went on a walk that day.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's the best thing that somebody can do for themselves.
Especially if you're with a friend or you're doing it
Oh,
at sunset
do you
or
know
your
how
pet.
listening to a podcast, your time flies.
Right. Okay, so how can people find you? Because I know they're all going to want to find you.
I hope they do. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. My @ is my first and last name, Jaselle Jamoua. I don't have like separate accounts for like personal and business. I kind of just have them all in one. So you get to see a little bit into my personal life as well. I know people like that. People ask me oftentimes how I do my own skincare routine or how I apply my own makeup. So that's where you can get it all in one.
Amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you. And we'll have all your links in the show notes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. I had so much fun. This was great.
Thank you for joining us on Listen to Your Skin by Moon & Skin. It's an honor to be part of your skincare journey. And if you love this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave us a glowing review, and share it with someone who's passionate about their skincare journey. And please connect with us on social to ask your questions, which will drive future educational episodes.